It is now 6 p.m. We'll call this meeting to order, March 4th, 2024. We now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moment of silence. Thank you. I now call for a motion to look at the approval of the minutes from February 5th, 2024 meeting. Are there any discussions, any corrections, anything seen omitted?
I make a motion to approve them.
I'll second the motion.
Motion second. Are there all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Now items for discussion, the budget discussion. We have on here first. So we have looked at some opportunities for grants. But we first wanted to hear from Evan to see where our actual budget is for this commission.
Yes, ma'am. That's what I was gonna step in and make a note about. So, Cameron looked into it and let me know that we have about $1,000 left in the budget. However, the only discretionary spending that the board gets to do with this is for decorations. Everything else will need to go through council.
Okay, decorations. So like holiday decorations or decorations?
I don't know if they specified decorations in general. But, you know, I know we talked about the flyers from Peach Jar for Arbor Day activities and tree planting grants, obviously. So any of that stuff we can get on the meeting agenda for next week's meeting, which is March 12th. But somebody amongst you four would need to be present to talk to the council if they had any questions and just to tell them what we're trying to do, if you guys decide to do anything.
I know last meeting we did have a conversation regarding purchasing the wrought iron plant holders. Is that considered decorations or is that considered something different? We don't know.
I could check for sure, but I mean, I don't want to say anything, but it sounds like a decoration. I mean,
I'll try and
Decoration hold.
speak to that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of when it originally came up, it was earmarked as the downtown decorations for the seasonal type aspects. So
Okay.
what we used for the hay and what we used to put on the hay. So I don't know if it was necessarily earmarked for that. It was earmarked for the downtown decorations for the seasonal. And that's one of the things that the folks in admin and I talked about today was, I think, whenever the money was granted to you all, it came with that specific earmark in the budget, being that it was going to be used for such. So if there was anything you all wanted it to be used for outside of those downtown decorations, I think they would entertain discussion with it at the meeting next Tuesday. But like Evan said, you'd have to have somebody up there and go and talk to them about it and kind of list out what you want to do, how much it's going to be. And also, I mean, while you're there, it could be the aspect of what we're talking about tonight of, you know, what do you want to use the money for next year? You want to keep the same amount or you want to get more, stuff like that? I think it'd be beneficial to get y'all in front of them if y'all are looking for any more funds sooner rather than later, because I mean, by the time, I think they're already holding preliminary budget meetings. So, I mean, the quicker you can get on that front, the better. And I guess Councilmember Whitaker isn't with us tonight to kind of go into a little bit more on where they're at in that current process, but I think they're starting those discussions at least, so.
And I have something else, about the budget and money that we could spend. So it was brought to my attention that the Graham Area Business Association paid for those banners that we have, like Love Graham and, you know, Visit Graham and those. They paid for those, I'm not sure how many years ago, but my understanding is that they've kind of disbanded, and I think there's like 5 or 6 of those banners that are still in halfway decent shape that are still flying. There's not a whole lot of them anymore. And so, something was mentioned and I said that I would mention it here because that is really part of Graham's appearance also. It would fall under the Appearance Commission as far as seeing about getting money maybe for next year from city council to get more banners. And if that's something y'all are interested in, I can see if I can find out, how much the banners might be and things like that. So,
Thinking just like I'm thinking, those have huge impact downtown. They're very low maintenance. You put them up, you let them stay up. There's not a lot of moving hay bales around.
Mhm.
So they're there and they have a huge impact. And even if there was a chance to, and they probably roll up and take up little space.
mhm, mhm.
But if there's a chance even to acquire for different holidays or something of that nature, that adds impact and it looks relevant. So actually was just Googling banners. I don't know how much those things cost. I'm sure they're pretty expensive
Yes,
just because
yeah.
they're commercial, but I would like, that information back.
Okay.
I think that would be
I
good.
think kind of looked at them, and they are quite expensive.
But if that's
It's
something
something
that
that
we,
people all around.
yeah,
all
yeah,
Wood Street, so
yeah.
yeah.
Put them on all the
That would be
streets off of the
something.
square and that would, yeah, yep. Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
We do have some banners left.
Okay,
We have some brand new banners.
okay,
We put up a couple of banners last week because we had some that were damaged and we took them down. And we had to repair the rod that they go on.
Mhm.
So we put up a couple of banners and when we get time, we're probably gonna put up a few more.
Mhm.
I don't know how many I have left, but I do have a few brand new ones that have never been put up.
Okay,
So we are gonna put them up as time allows.
okay.
Okay.
I mean, from your perspective for your department, is that a good use of time and talent versus something else?
Well, they're not, first of all, they're not low maintenance.
Okay,
Um, some are and some aren't. It depends on where you put them. Some of them get hit by, especially on Main Street, the ones on the front side of the poles. That's the reason we tried to put them on the back side of the poles because they get hit by tractor trailers or whatever. The wind in some areas, the wind tears them up. Or, the wind flops them around till the brackets break off. The clamp that holds the bracket on the pole will break off. So there is a certain amount of maintenance with them. Takes 20 to 30, if you have to put brackets and everything, new brackets on the pole, takes 20 to 30 minutes to put one up for 2 guys in a bucket truck. So it is a little bit time consuming. We do it when we have time to do it. Right now, we're trying to get we finished with our fertilizers and that kind of stuff and spraying. We're working on spraying now. We're trying to get a lot of pruning done. So it's seasonal, but as time allows and we have time, we will put up some more banners.
okay.
How long do they?
So are you in need of any banners? Do you know how many you have?
I don't know how many we have. I probably have, I'm gonna say we probably have 8 or 10 new ones that have never been put
And
up.
how many total do you think do you have throughout?
Oh, there was a bunch.
It was a bunch, so we still would
There was,
probably.
there was at least 35 to maybe 40. It could have been 40. I don't know. There were a bunch.
So maybe 15, we may still be able to use new ones, 15, maybe 12 to 15.
I may have 8 or 10. I'm really not sure how many we have.
And those will replace the ones that have been torn, tethered, whatever.
Yeah.
Big need.
Okay.
And how long have they been up, do you recall? How long have they?
He
4
said,
years?
yeah, I think you said last time 3 years, I remember.
Nah, they've been up longer than that.
I reached out to, Source and it was about 6 years ago. they
Yeah, that's
were
what I thought. It's about 6 years.
Oh,
Okay.
really?
Okay.
Wow.
But that's some of the ones that are still up there are not in good shape.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Yeah, they don't have that like pop-up color, like they
Yeah.
become more part of the background than versus a focal point.
Right.
But that's
The
what
same
happens.
color as
when-
the pole now.
Sun bleached
Mhm.
them out.
Mhm.
Yes. So that was a donation from the Graham Business Association that purchase those for the city. Okay,
Yep, that's my understanding, yep.
okay.
More discussion about the banners?
Yeah, I'll look
So-
into it. We can, well, I mean, we can all kind of look and see what the prices would be, because we need to figure out what we'd need to ask the city council for before they do their budgets. So,
So now looking back at, say our budget, let's go back to the budget situation. We as a commission had discussed a possibility of doing some grant seeking for approval from the board, that we would maybe look at doing some grant writing. We found two grants, that we thought showed favor to our local government and the policies, and there's no payback mentioned. So some of the things that this Legacy Tree Fund does offer, it fits very closely to what we were discussing at the last meeting. And just to say that there's some local places that we could actually reach out to and maybe get some ideas on how to go about it. Our mission statement is online, so we would just kind of download that and implement that into our grant process. It doesn't open yet until April. The grant process, I think it doesn't open until April, and then it stays open for May 31st. Yeah, that's right. So we have some time now to kind of look at being able to get the components together that's necessary to get a grant written. We were looking at a small number, 5,000, but one of the members indicated that we could just go ahead and apply for the larger number and see what we get. That would help us to be self-sufficient. So these are some of the things. We also had looked at another grant. Bernadette, do you have the information on that one? What was the name?
Did you send it in?
you know, your mic.
Did you send in the other one?
Mm-mm.
Do we know that one in?
That was the only one I received information on. If you can tell me the name of it, I can try to look it up.
It's, I don't have my
I
book.
don't know what the name of this one actually is. The Legacy
Leg-
Tree Fund.
Yeah,
So is
That's
that
what we
that
just
one?
that was
had.
that one.
Oh.
And then we had
Yeah.
another one. Was it the one of the same? Because you had another one.
No, it was one and the same.
Okay.
Yeah. The questions about that was recruiting citizens to help plant the new trees and stuff. You really have to get the community involved in this grant.
Mhm.
So that's a very important part of that.
So being that we have roughly a month to get the grant written, submitted, and then wait for our decision in that, after then, once we
Right.
get the grant, then we can start maybe having some meetings to invite the public, to get some volunteers, and hopefully get some involvement from the city, period, because right now, just looking out, we very seldom get people that come in and inquisitive about what we're doing, what our plans are, how they can help. So maybe that will help us get more awareness as well. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Because it runs from September through May. So it can almost be incorporated into next Park Day, doing something like that.
And grant writing is not the easiest thing to do. So we're going to need all the time that's being allotted here.
I guess I have a question for the city, because there are several grant opportunities through like Arbor Day Foundation and through other entities. When we are looking at grants, clearly we need to have an objective of what we are seeking the grant to do. So we need to state that more clearly. However, does that need to be approved, our ability to apply for that grant, approved by the city council prior to application? Or is it if we get awarded, city council then has to approve based off of the award? I don't know what internal policy is.
Well, I guess for starters, the biggest question for some of these grants that you're looking to go after is, and I think we may have brought this up before, is, is this a matching grant? Like, are we putting up money or are they putting up money? Or in this instance, are they just donating trees? Right? If they're just donating trees and we're not having to give back anything, I don't think that it would require any previous approval as you all, as the board, are going after it. The only time I think there would need to be any type of proactive approval from them is if you need to match the $5,000 donation that they're giving them as well. And you have to ask city council if.
There's no mention of matching funds. I looked at that. I looked for that, the first thing, just to make sure, because I know that was one of your concerns and I wanted to make sure. So there's no matching funds here, not for this particular grant. Some of the local towns, Carborough, Durham, Greensboro, surrounding areas have been approved for this grant. And what I had stated was we may just take a little field trip and go meet with some people. I've already have some calls in to some people that I know that work for the town, just to see if they can give me some information to bring back to the commission and see what the regulations are, what was the time span that they had to spend on it, how much manpower it took, and those kind of things, and giving us some hinters on the things that we probably need to include, because it's like a digital system that reads them. So we need to have the words there, that the system's gonna, that the system is gonna search for. But everybody's really excited and got a lot of support. If this is what you guys are looking to do, we support that you go ahead on and do it. It's not really that hard,
Where
but
would we put the
it's time
trees, though?
consuming.
That's the question.
We would go to Mr. Covington now, that the tree planting itself, we're not gonna try to get involved with that. We're just trying to get funding. And then he could say, or his department could say where they,
I see
where
a
they're
handshake
needed.
happen.
But it's not just, now this is basically more for trees. But there are some other entities of this grant that is not necessarily, it is some things that enhance the city, improve the neighborhoods and things like that. So there's various different sections,
Where do you need trees?
but that would
Well,
have to come from.
That's the reason I'm up here. I participated in one of these tree grants. We participated in a matching grant, matching funds,
Mhm.
and we had to put up so much. And the grant supplied so much. It was 50-50 matching funds. We got 200 trees out of that one, and they were anywhere from some of them were 1 gallon up to 10 gallon probably. And we planted them all around the city, some in right of ways, some on our parking lots, our municipal properties, but a lot of them went to parks. We planted them in different parks in different places, but I mean, don't just give me 200 trees and say here,
Right.
I mean, we just took out over 300 trees from Bill Cook Park
Mhm.
that were dead or dying or needed to come out. But there are a lot of trees at Bill Cook Park that are size of your thumb, and we're gonna go in there and prune them and make those trees, I mean, they're native, they're native trees to that area. We don't need to go back in there and plant 200 trees back, because the trees that are there are already there. They're gonna come on now that it's cleared out and they're gonna get some sunshine. They're gonna grow, and we're gonna prune them, so they'll be nice trees over time. So, yeah, I mean, we could find a place to put some trees, 200, I don't know. I don't, that's a lot of trees.
That's not true.
Mhm.
So.
But I don't know if that number is anywhere getting 200. I think we're just throwing out that.
I think originally, I mean,
I
there's,
think,
oh, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
could you bring up the email that I sent to you? Do you have that?
I don't think I can pull up the email, since it's a matter of, just a private conversation between us two. I don't think I can show the email unless,
Hmm? You want?
get. Well, yeah, so the 2 links you sent me in the email,
I wanted just to refer to the email that I sent you, to the notes that
Right.
was there.
1 second. No, there's not the links on there don't work. And then the actual email you sent me, I don't know if I can bring up my email on here. Yeah.
While he looks for that, I'll
Yeah.
just make a comment real fast. So I think, yes, that can be very intimidating, 200 trees where you put them, whatever, but I think this is where a partnership is really applicable, you know, if, and I think one of these, they had Master Gardener partnership, they had, or New Leaf partnership. There's something to be said about strength in numbers. It actually adds credibility to grant applications.
We had a partnership with, I think somebody from Elon and somebody maybe from UNCG.
Okay,
I know there were some Elon students that came and
Okay.
helped us plant, and they were getting credit for
Yeah.
something that they were
Hey,
working on.
that's nice.
But in
yeah.
that 200 tree project, there were some Elon students here. And we also got trees from, what was the other one you just said?
New
Arbor Day?
Leaf Society.
New Leaf. We also got trees from New Leaf, and they just appeared. We got a phone call or an email from New Leaf saying, we're gonna have so many trees available on this day, you need to come pick them up. We went to Glen Raven and picked them up, and we probably got at least 50 trees that time. So, and they didn't call, they were not, they were free. They were through New Leaf, they were free.
Mm,
I
okay.
think
So,
there's another piece here where if you want, I mean, clearly the city, we could find places to put them in parks and in public places. But there's also a piece that I know Asheville had a great program. I think they might have won an award for it, where they gave trees to citizens to basically to move that along to build that canopy in their yard or in their property. So there definitely was that
Yes.
component where there could be, was that also
And
written in there?
that is also in here too. That
So I
you
think
can-
when writing the grant up, these are things, well, one, if we want to, I'm happy to reach out to the Master Gardeners and to New Leaf just to see if there's any consortium of conversation there. But then two, to like, as we go to the grant, what exactly we're hoping to achieve, because that will give us direction in what success we have. Because I agree, it can, if 200 trees show up here, that's a little overwhelming if you don't
Yeah.
really know where you're gonna
What
put
kind of
them.
trees? What-
yeah, I mean, what kind of trees, what
Yeah.
kind of, what are you gonna plant where? We have right of ways, but a lot of our right of ways have utilities in them, either in the ground or overhead, and now you've got all this,
Fiber
other
optic.
utilities that are going in, so
Mhm.
you just have to be very careful where you plant trees in the right of ways.
So I think we're getting ahead of ourselves just a tad bit, because what we're trying to do now is just to decipher whether or not if this grant is going to be something that's going to be compatible with our needs and something compatible with our guidelines, making sure we stay within the guidelines. And so I think once we know whether or not if we are going to be susceptible to even applying and being able to get approved for it, then that's when, I guess, in the process of now would be a good planning time to figure out about the trees. We would rely on Mr. Covington. Then this thing talks about neighborhood, it talks about schools. There's many different facets. So the trees could be spread out amongst different entities of our city
Mhm.
in helping to improve. It talks about storm areas by different rivers and banks. We don't have all that, but it talks about improvement of a lot of irrigation areas. So it's so many different other entities that would probably be able to jump on this bandwagon and say, okay, hey, guys, thank you a lot for your gift. So not all the trees would probably be designated just to the city for their use. So I think we're a little ahead of where we need to be. What we're trying to determine right now is whether or not this is a grant that's actually going to be able to be feasible for us to use. I think that's what we need to do since we're into the budget part. And then we decide on how many people are going to be interested in actually sitting and helping to get it written and helping getting it submitted. And then once we know, we kind of know what we're doing, then that gives Mr. Covington and others, we could send out notification that this is what we're looking to do. And if we are awarded, then we would contact you if you have a need, or we could do a poll to the schools and see, who may have a need. And then by the time that the grant is approved and the people that say yay or nay, we can start looking at those, different, areas. But right now, I think if we keep the focus on just the grant.
So I have some thoughts. Part of it is, this is all great, and I think that we should do something to improve, but how are we going to get the community involved in this? Because it doesn't, it needs to be something. It's great to have the trees and to plant the trees, but we expect the city to take on that task of doing that. And I know you mentioned, giving the trees to others also, but is there a way that we can use this to get the community actually involved in, because like you said, the only people that are here are the people that really have to be here. We don't
Yeah.
have people that just come to our meetings
Right.
to be a part of it.
Right.
And
It's-
so,
Well, it talks about all of that. It has different explanations on how to approach like, a storm recovery project,
mhm,
natural area planting, and it tells you which of those, areas within your community of the people that you should maybe look at contacting. Then it goes into, school projects.
mhm, mhm.
The appropriateness for public schools and properties, and it tells you how to contact and who you need to look at. The student body must be involved. So it's self-explanatory in all of the categories. And I guess that's why I highlighted and copy and pasted those in Arbor Day event planning. So instead of us trying to say we need someone to donate the $75 or whatever, we'll have that money in our budget for going forth. Stormwater management, and that's when we would go back to probably that would tie more into the city.
Mhm.
So if you look at the different categories, it's going to be, the storm recovery project is ideal for a neighborhood or community.
Mhm, mhm.
So when we are writing the grant, we would have taken a poll to find out which one of these needs should we actually enhance on our application. Not just one, but several of them, but which one are going to take precedent over others. So we can have the keyword factors that they are looking for in order to consider us for a candidate for the grant. So,
I have a few questions I just wanted to ask too, and just things for you guys to consider.
yes,
With the school aspect of it, I would imagine that each school, and maybe even the school system as a whole, I have no idea exactly how it works. But any trees or things like that that they need, I would think that they would find a way to secure it themselves. So, reaching out and asking them if they need trees rather than them buying them themselves and keep, taking care of their grounds themselves would be something you guys could do. But I would just note that, you might want to, like you said, reach out and figure out if there is that need there or not before really considering that as something that it's our responsibility to supply ABSS or Graham, or Graham Middle or Graham High School with trees. Because they may not necessarily need that, or they may have their own
okay,
plan.
so I'm going to go back to what I stated earlier, and I'm sorry, maybe I didn't make myself clear. But we're going to be polling the areas to find out where there is a need. And if there's a need within the criteria that meets and will, it's like a face of an application. It's kind of hard to describe if you've never written a grant. But those key factors will pop up and it will give, their system, okay, this is a town here. Oh, look, they're looking for something for recovery for the neighborhood, something for the schools, something for this and that and the third. So it's not like we're just going to go apply for the grant and have 200 trees here and just go around to the schools and say, oh, we have 15, or we have 500 trees for you. We would have known prior to, through our polling, whether or not, or where the needs are. So it's not like we'd be working in the blind. That would be a waste of time. and I don't think it'll be very effective, and it will burn everybody out.
Mhm.
So in the meantime of writing the grant, we know that we do have trees, a need for trees. All the particular areas necessarily, do we know where and whom needs them? No, I can't say today, but through polling, which would be responsibility, I hope that this committee, the commission will adopt and say that, yes, we'll partake in this exercise just to see. And if we've not ever did it, then we don't know how it's done. But it's always great opportunity just to kind of branch out and figure out where we are. So we're not like saying that we're just going to volunteer to go take trees unless someone has said they have a need. So I think that everybody sitting on this board should be a little more intelligent in thinking that we'll just show up to someone's door and say, here, we've got this bunch of trees for you. So we're going to do our homework
Mhm.
prior to, but the grant is where we need to start so we can even know if it's a possibility for us helping anyone.
Mhm.
Because right now we're relying solely on the town's budget. So I think if we could show them we're trying to step our game up and be a help rather than a hinder, I think people would like seeing us better at the city council meeting, saying this is what we have for the city, rather than always coming asking for money.
Mhm.
So that's where we are. We're just trying to be a help and not a hindrance.
Right. No, I understand. I apologize if I misunderstood. I think then what you guys definitely should consider, like Chair Clark Baldwin was saying, the polling aspect would be where I would start before I even start writing the grant. Because, you know, you heard from Mr. Covington about 200 trees is a lot of trees. So I just don't want us to get in over our head. And I understand you're not going to ambush anybody with trees, but maybe
No.
start by polling. If nobody has interest in working with you guys, or nobody
Right.
really needs trees, then you can know, maybe we go for a smaller grant that has a smaller ask, or where we ask something smaller from the.
And we can start as low as 5,000, but it goes up to 15. So we can go, according to our polling, what the needs are and what the cost is, and we'll be relying on Mr. Covington for some of that. And we'll do our own research and see how close we are. If he thinks we're far off or we're right where we need to be with numbers, then we would implement that. But right now, we're just trying to look at the structure of this grant just to make sure it meets the criteria of city government as we are being represented under the umbrella of city government. So this is not to articulate, we're going to do this with the money and that for these groups of people. Right now, we're just trying to bring it to the board and just see if we are in alignment with what we need to be doing as far as what this grant indicates that it calls for. That's the purpose of talking about the grant tonight. So if we can get back to looking at the grant itself and outline where we see where we can meet the needs, or where we see that we could definitely be utilizing this grant, I think we'll be doing ourselves a favor. But
So say you're gonna do the schools, you would have to go through the school board, I'm sure.
Mhm.
They want to be involved in that.
Yes,
right?
absolutely. Every entity that we are planning on, even within the community, I would probably reach out to I have my way of going to the community. I wouldn't just go to door. I would maybe go to the pastors of the community, go to the associations with the UCC, the Baptist, the Methodist churches, and let the pastors say, oh yeah, you know what, we can have a neighborhood over here. We have Sister so-and-so, and she works with the 4-H club. And so it's different places we can go to kind of do our polling. So it's not going to be a amateur day. It's going to be something very seriously looked at, very seriously followed through with. So there's different resources that we can look into.
So I think that applying for a grant is a great idea. I think we would need to pinpoint our group before, we were to just apply for a grant.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
would need to, pinpoint it and get to you know, we want to get a grant because this section of town over here is neglected and they need, you know, we've talked to them and they would like to have trees or they would like to have some kind of help with bringing this area of town up. Or, you know, we need trees to go down Main Street or something, but I think before should apply for the grant, we should know the reason, you know, we're
That's
applying
where
for
our
the grant.
polling will come in. So we're
Right,
gonna be
yeah.
doing the polling, but we still have to have, maybe say you and I would work on polling, while Bernadette and Sherry would work on the criteria of the grant, making sure that everything that's stated here that we can adhere to. So we would have to work, you know,
Mhm.
different areas.
Yeah, and that's fine. Now I can say, like, I'm a little limited for the next month or so on what I can do outside of,
We understand.
you know, standard.
Understand.
Got some stuff going on in my life.
Right.
But yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
So
think the
we-
grant's a great idea, but we just need to.
Go about it the proper way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, yeah, yep.
absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, Sherry, you're pretty abreast on the grant. You read over it. Did you see anything that may prohibit us from being a candidate or awarded the?
No, I mean,
Money.
like towns and cities were awarded this, that
Mhm.
we are. I think we just have to have a good plan of some sort, you know, with our.
Yeah, and the
information.
mayor of Carver has already, returned my call, but I told her, I said, let me meet first with the commission, find out what our needs are from you, if there are any. And if so, you know, you could direct us to who we could meet with, and she's very familiar with it. So she said that they would just be waiting to hear back. Mickey Mashal, great nephew, I think. Um, Also, he's familiar with it. So the surrounding areas, there's different people in places that we can kind of lean on for this, so. I
So,
think
and
we're
that
good.
brings up another question in my mind is, do we have the authority to apply for the grant? Or is that something that the city actually has to do? Or do we, you know, or do we have to get approval of the council
Yeah.
before we apply for that
So
grant?
that was,
So-
yeah, the first time I came up here and spoke, Ms. Shoreway asked that question. And I kind of got into it a little bit. And basically what I mentioned was, you know, the aspect of was this a match grant or not? Were we gonna have to request any funding from anybody else? At the time, it seems like it wasn't. But if you look through, the grant and request for proposals for the Legacy Tree Fund, it mentions that, they're looking to fund a larger project with greater impact and visibility. Grant awards must be equally matched with cash or in-kind services. And that goes into examples of some in-kind services. So it is a matching grant of some sorts. It can take into account in-kind services. A lot of
In-kind.
that is due with a lot of the planning aspect of it. If we were going to do any irrigation work, things along those lines, engineering cost. But if the aspect was just a request for money for trees in particular, and we're gonna figure out where to plant them, probably have to go in front of city council to get that match piece of it. So this would be something, it seems like from looking through the request for proposal and the application is something that you have to go in front of them for. Just to see if there's an amount that you want to get, you'd have to get that matching from them.
And this is where we need to be, so we can know what our steps, how we prioritize. So we would start, I guess, with the city. And at the same time, simultaneously, we could be doing more than one thing. We can also be polling, so then we'll go look for another grant. It's not that if we can't do this grant, it's just gonna be something we'll just throw out the window, but it will give us an opportunity to make sure that it meets the criteria. So anything, I think that we write, whether it's match funds or not, I would not feel comfortable without going to the council and getting their approval. And I think that was stated last meeting, and the representative was supposed to report back to us this month on whether or not if that's something that, and what the procedures would be in order for us to get it to the council, what we would need to do. So hopefully she'll be here next month and she'll be able to give us that information. but we did ask that of her last month, so.
Yeah, I think like I said, the place to start would be if you guys want to communicate and figure out how you're going to do the polling. I mean, that might be useful for any grant that you're going to apply for.
Yes,
So if that is something you guys want to take on, regardless of if you guys end up going in front of council for this grant or not, I would definitely take some time to think about and organize amongst each other, what the polling would look like and how responsibilities would shake out and things like that, just so, that aspect is taken care of, as Chair Clark Baldwin was saying.
thank you.
Just thinking off the top of my head, this might even be something that we take into account possibly next year, because, if we're gonna go and request money from them, I don't know if it's readily available to come out before, the new budget year per se. So if we're asking for a match, that's something, of course, that we'd have to ask city council. If that's something that can come out right here before the May deadline, of course, the new budget isn't done before May. So I don't know exactly what that looks like, but just some other things to keep in mind when you kind of go through these decisions again.
Oh, yeah, well, you're. Yes, it's exactly. It won't happen this fiscal year, so, but we have to get it done this year in order to even have the funds available for next year. So, because the budget won't be approved, the new budget won't come into play to July 1. So this is due by May, and it's gonna take longer than a couple of months for them to get back with us. And then once we have the grant approved, then, or denied, but if it's approved, then that's when we would come back to people such as Mr. Covington, the schools and things like that, because we've already have our poll now. So we know that the schools said, yes, they have a dire strait. They are in need of trees. But the conservation part of it said no. So we would have our polling done. So then at that time, we'll just get back on the phone like telephone operators and say, hey, we did get awarded this amount of money. We can actually be able to allocate X amount of dollars to your need. After it's approved, of course, by the city council, going by all the steps. And this is why we needed to meet with the commission, so we could get instructions on what we need to do and how. But that is good information. The matching funds part, then we can go further and maybe look for another grant that maybe does not have matching funds. But there's some other stipulations there that we can meet that we can offset the matching funds. So just because it said that, it did not say that it's necessarily has to be matched. But it indicates that there are other ways around it. So we have to read what those other ways are and figure out if we can be able to meet those objectives. So it's just an exercise. It's something that we can say that we tried it, we learned from it, and now we can try again. It's not something we try, we don't get it done this time and we just, forget it. It's something that's going to be, we're looking for educational things to do. This is something to enhance everyone here's knowledge on grant writing. And I think it's just a good project. It'll be a good exercise. And if we get it, we do. If we don't, at least we tried.
Right, we'll try it. Let's move on now.
Okay, yeah,
We'll
let's go.
Sidebar and, get it together for a date.
So,
Okay.
so we'll just leave that. What we'll finalize this with is that we're going to try to get get the grant. We will make plans to get on the city council's agenda. And,
But we have to get on the agenda for the money. Can we spend it on other things?
can we
besides-
spend it on anything except decorations? And then what is decorations?
Right.
What all does that include, right? So, Sherry, would you be available if we can get on next month? I don't know if council is
said
meeting
next
next month.
week.
Finish
Well,
next week.
Well, you can get on, you guys can get on for next week, but,
Oh, we can?
well, yeah, if you knew what you were asking for in amounts and had somebody available to present on behalf of you guys. So I mean, like for Arbor Day was more of the things
Also-
we were thinking.
A little bit more about it, sorry, Evan.
No, you're good.
We already have a agenda item earmarked for tomorrow, just in case you all want to go for it on next Tuesday. But that agenda item is specific to the $1,000 that's remaining and whether or not you can switch that up from whatever it be. So if
Right.
you were looking to get on the agenda for the grant stuff, it'd have to be the one in, April.
April,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
So for something as pressing as, because the
Arbor
only
Day.
reason, yeah, because you want to have that money, say if you want to advertise with the schools and the money that Brandy has presented, then you need that at your disposal to use, not next month, but like next week.
Right,
So that's more or less what that's for. So
Yeah.
we need to know before the end of the night whether I tell the clerk in the morning if that's going to be on the agenda and one of you all is going to come and speak.
Mhm.
yeah. Put us on the agenda for that, but
Well-
only for Arbor Day.
Mhm.
Then we'll focus on the grant maybe in their April meeting. And I think that was my question to you. Would you be available for April meeting for the council? I know you meet with the county also, but would you be available for the county? Okay, very good. So, thank you, Cameron. And so what we'll do for next week, we are asking that we do get put on the calendar for next week to discuss funds for Arbor Day.
Okay.
And then we are asking that we get put on the calendar for April to discuss decoration, we'll find
I
out
think
about
it's
the
gonna
decoration.
depend. So we have, let me just
Excuse
make
me.
sure I'm understanding. So we have $1,000. In our packet, there was information about, peach tree or peach jar and be able to, those dollars to pull down from the 1,000. So if we go before council next week, we're asking ultimately, can we use that $1,000 to pay for marketing for the Arbor Day
Yes.
event?
Yeah,
Mhm.
And then depending on how much we get approval for, if we do, then whatever is left, then we're gonna ask what else we can use that on. Is that
yes,
okay?
absolutely, yes.
Like
And what
the
else does it,
toys. What
and
is
just
it?
have them to
Yeah.
specify what is decorations,
Like,
and that would be
As a
for.
board, I think we should donate a tree. You know, like
Yeah.
how we do that.
I-
But,
Mhm.
you know,
Let's get to Arbor Day, because
Yeah.
that is very much,
Yeah.
very pressing.
So technically, the only thing you guys have approved is the tree planting ceremony. So we came back to discuss if you guys were interested in peach jar. And Brandy has a lot of information that she can add in here as well. So you guys still have to decide what you're looking to fund. And like I said,
Okay.
you're gonna have to have the amount that you're asking for to be used if it can be used from the 1,000. So that's a
Miss-
discussion we can have now.
Okay, so Mr. Covington, before Brandy gives her, did you say that you needed a tree this time, or if you already have someone that's already donated the tree? Yeah, so we don't need to worry about the tree part for this Arbor Day.
The one that we're planting.
The one
I,
that,
I would like to hear from Brandy, though, her
Yes.
thoughts on the peach jar, and then we can continue the conversation.
Okay.
But she prepared something, and I would like to, I mean, do you have any thoughts? Is that well worth the money or really not worth our money?
So usually in the fall, well, I'll send out a flyer. I'll send out our flyer that we usually have at events and programs out to the schools. And it's usually the schools that are directly around Graham and inside of Graham. In the fall, I get pretty good success. I think just a lot of people, they're on the ball, like it's a new school year, they're checking their emails, they're on top of things, they're like, what can I do for, what can I get my kid involved in? However, when I send out spring flyers on Peach Jar, I don't get that same response. I think parents are just by that time, they've got so much going on, they're overwhelmed with emails. So I try to use, this year, I'm trying to use those funds differently to advertise programs and events. The thing with Arbor Day, which it could benefit us in the future to have this information and to know it's available, but it also depends on the audience. Last year when we did our tree program in the park, it was during spring break. A lot of kids were out of school. Most of the kids that came were homeschooled, and we only have 12 spaces. And we can fill those spaces just advertising through social media, putting up flyers, advertising in parks. It's 12 spaces. And also, if we have our ceremony this year, it's at 2:00 and the kids are still in school.
right.
yeah, that's what we.
So if we send out a peach jar, that's really not our target audience that we're sending to. And if y'all did get that money, could it be used elsewhere for advertising? I did ask, and it's not a promise, I did ask if just Arbor Day in Graham and that you guys are promoting trees and we're sending out educational information on social media, just the general Arbor Day in Graham and what our mission is to be included in the City Graham. That's the newsletter that goes out And the water bills, the advertises events April through September. I did ask if space allows, if it can be included in the overall city information. I don't know that yet because as of Friday, that was our deadline for everyone around the city to get all their information in to be included. So I did ask that.
Yeah.
And that goes out to all the city residents. So that could be a good resource. And then I've also went ahead and kind of have an idea of what's going to go out on social media during the month of April. 2 to 3 days a week, we're going to be advertising something about Arbor Day, either the ceremony or spring break activity or the different resources we have on our website. In the past, Tim's done a video for us about
Mhm.
how to plant a
Yeah.
tree. Rhett Davis did a highlight about Arbor Day in Graham. We did a drone flyover, one of our parks. So even though these have been in the videos in the past, they're still relevant now. So we have lots of information and familiar faces to help talk about trees and your mission. And like I said, anything that goes out about Arbor Day and Graham mentions the Parents Commission and Tree Board. So you're also getting that advertising. It'll be advertised on Graham Recreation and Park social media, and we'll also ask that it's shared on the City of Graham social media as well.
So with the timing, the set time, is there a reason? Because time will go forward this weekend, right? So could we move it up an hour? I mean, are we stuck to 2 o'clock or can we move it up to 3:30? Allowing more time for more people to be available? Why are we in that slot of 2 o'clock? I mean, does it have to be 2 o'clock? I mean, as a commission, can we not decide that we would like to have it at a different time and to allow more participation? Schools will be out, it won't be dark, it will move up an hour, so can we not set the time for 3:30?
That will have to do with some of Tim's staff, since he's a part of this as well. Last year it was from 3 to 5 because we did partner with First Responder Fridays. That event's changed. I've talked with, the coordinator for that event, and they're going more out into the community instead of the parks this year. So we do not have to plan around First Responder Friday or depend on them, but we do have to depend on those that are going to be planting the tree that day, and what his crew is available to do.
Well, I know that they did plant the tree the day before, year before last, so,
And that one was from 3 to 5, I believe, or 3 to 4.
no, that one was in the morning. It was cold and windy and raining.
Was that the one that was at Graham Regional Park?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so that was in the morning. So, I mean, if they need to do their tree planting at a certain time, we understand that. But what I'm saying, as far as our program, if we could move it to where it's feasible for us to have more participation, I think that's something that we should be susceptible to thinking about, changing the time so we can maybe have a better, turnout. Because this is a very fun, Mr. Covington, you had about 37 children looking at you on that little video, because I just pulled that up, last Sunday, because nobody knew what Arbor Day was. And I talked to them about tree planting. So if you start getting a lot of waves, hand waves, because kids remember everything, and especially faces and names. So I pulled that up just to give them an idea of what happens during Arbor Day. But if we can look at board just having that time moved to 3:30, start time for us, and then maybe we can pull in more people, get more participation, because it is a fun day.
Well, okay, let's talk about that. So what is fun about it? Like what is going to get people there? I mean, that's what we have to understand, right? Like a lot of communities have Arbor Day celebrations. I absolutely agree that 2 o'clock, if we want kids there, that is not going to work. If you do want kids there, do you want them there just to be observers? Do you want them there to sing a song? If so, it has to, well, then it needs to be during their school day. Otherwise, and then you're going to pay for transportation. So we got to figure out what we want, like what we want that to look like. And then how do we get there? And what gets people there? Well, of course, if your child's singing, you're going to be there to, videotape them or whatever it is. So I think that's the piece that we've got to figure out. Like we've
Okay,
done, we
yes.
did the regional park and that was really nice that time, right? Like that was real nice. I wasn't able to make last year's, but then I was here for the poetry reading and that was a packed house that night.
So
Um,
back in 2020, so they had the ceremony at Paris Park. Is it Paris Park over behind the Civic Center? And that used to be, it wasn't even a public event. It was just the Forest Service came out, the Appearance Commission came out. And that was pretty much it. Like that was the tree planting ceremony. So just up until recently, when we were at Graham Regional Park, did it become a ceremony, with including the public, like going into a true public space, bringing those folks in. I'm sure there were other events prior to that, but coming back from COVID, it's kind of been growing.
I mean,
I
could we,
would-
oh, go ahead.
So it
Sorry.
hasn't always been like a kid-driven
Event.
big
Yeah,
event.
I want to apologize for interrupting, but I do want to note here, as referenced on the notes, you guys did set the date and time last meeting. So that's, we've already done this kind of
Yep.
discussion. So the goal tonight was to try to see if there was anything you guys, that Brandy thinks we need for the events that need funding or consideration by you guys. And so there is the planting ceremony is approved and set by you guys last month. So that's one of the aspects. I guess the other aspect, anything around it that you guys want to advertise for?
Well, I do want to address what we need from Brandy, but I also want to go back to the point that we did set a time, but it wasn't written in stone. And now we're seeing the need for it to be at a later time during the day. So what I'm asking the commission is everybody on board with setting it to a later time. Because it's not going to be feasible. We did involve the community. We have involved school children. There are some participants that still, we don't have a greater number because probably they looked at the time and the parents were saying, well, that's just going to be too early for me. So if we, in every tree, whether it's grant, whether it's a program, where it's the USA Tree University, whatever it was, everything that I read about the Tree Day and Arbor Day, it talks about involving your community. It talks about having children participation. And everywhere I've read, I have not ever seen that left out. So I think it's good for us. I think it's a great start. I actually wanted to have the little girl from last year come back again this year because she was phenomenal. I mean, her words and the way she looked at trees and the way she understood about the environment and how it helps and how it feeds out oxygen and shade and how it cuts down on your energy. It was so much information. The other kids were out of their seat, very engaged, and just like, wow, trees do all of that. And that's what I heard going out the door. So I don't want to have them involved and drop it because adults won't say we can move it so the children can participate. We are going to have, I know we did decide on a time, but I don't think we thought in depth about how it's going to affect the participants. So I would like to see more participation from children, community. So what I'm asking tonight, and Miss Noel, it's not,
Stepped out.
yeah, she stepped out. So we're going to have to kind of still come back to it because I would like to have her point of view. But I am asking that it be moved to a later time.
I have
I
a
think she just went to the bathroom, so hopefully she'll be
No,
back.
she's not.
I have, okay, so I have an idea here, because we did, I remember that conversation, we actually asked, Mr. Covington what worked best for his staff, and that's how we landed, and so striving to be respectful of that, is there, we can pivot a little bit, maybe perhaps, is there a potential, because I think we were gonna do a tree, maybe in, if I remember correctly, and don't shoot me up here, but, a tree in honor of the past mayor, right? So, go ahead.
But
City
someone
manager.
someone has already donated.
Yeah,
that,
so that's what's earmarked. It's
Yes.
earmarked for that.
Mhm.
Is there a way that on city property here. We know that city owns the library property and owns the Arts Council and owns the Children's Museum. Is there anywhere in this area that could use a tree? And my thought about that is we could potentially, if we want to keep the time at 2, we could get the Children's Museum involved. It's a different group. Maybe we could do something there, some special activity, whatever it is, gotta figure it out. But then we keep the time, we keep it here. Is that a possibility? I do not know.
The donor of that tree
Yes.
requested that tree be planted at South Grand Park.
Okay.
Because he lived in the community right across the street.
And have you guys decided on a date and time? Did you already, set a date and time with him? Mhm.
April 29th on Arbor Day.
On
for
Arbor
this-
Day?
For this
Uh,
event. Oh, sorry,
But do you-
26th.
Right, so do
Sorry,
you,
that was part of the time as well, that, you guys kind of talked that through and that came up that there was already a tree ready to be donated.
yeah,
And it wanted to be South Graham, so that's how you guys decided on the location. And I think the day is, Arbor Day is a day anyway, so.
so do you think that by moving it back 30 minutes is going to interfere with their tree planting ceremony for the, right, for the mayor? What was it? I mean, because it's going to be like,
I can't say that.
your tree planting is going to take place at what time? What time were you projecting? At 2:00. So, maybe we could do that first. That's still an hour and a half. And the program is really not that long.
The whole reason behind this is to keep our Tree City USA, establishment here through the city. We have to have an Arbor Day celebration with a tree planting
Yes.
tied to it, with the
Yeah.
proclamation course addressed during that time frame. So I don't know if there's really a way to split up two. I think they all have to be a combined one, so we can retain that certification of being.
So, Mr. Covington, having said that, so you think that, your 2:00 session, that there's no way you could move it to a further time, to a later time? Okay.
I mean, we work 7 to 4.
Okay.
So
on
that's
Friday,
kind of
my
the-
guys will be ready to go home, but I mean, I could ask some to stay if I needed them to stay.
Well, I mean, an hour later,
But I've been to 12 Arbor Days. Been to Arbor Day 12 years in a row. The only time we've ever had kids participating for the most part, other than the year we went out to, South Graham, the new park, regional park. There were a few kids that came from the playground that year and parents. But the other years that we've done it in a park or somewhere else on city property, it's pretty much been staff, forestry service, and whoever else was connected with Arbor Day that needed to be there. We had about 4, maybe 4 or 5 years, we did it on a Saturday in connection with the Children's Museum and the library and Arts Council. We did it in the lawn in front of the Arts Council. There's pretty good participation that day, those days, because it was in conjunction with something that they already had going on that had been on their calendar for a while. But other than those few,
Think they're
3 or
kind
4
of
years,
different space.
participation's low. It's just historically participation's low, but it is something that we have to do for Tree City USA.
that's right.
And there's still, there are kids that are in public schools, but we still have our homeschool kids. There's still kids that are at home with parents, grandparents, babysitters. There's still kids out there that are available to come to the event. So it's not that we don't have any kids at all, because we have reached kids by having it in a park,
Yes.
that have discovered us, or hopefully in the future, we can bring them out to the event. We just don't have a big draw right now to bring them to the ceremony.
I understand. So with your poem writing, were we still going with that? Have you gotten any submissions? Have we even released that yet, or where was?
Well, there was nothing that said we were gonna continue with the poem contest from our last
Okay.
meeting.
Mhm.
Right now for Arbor Day, We have the Going Bonkers for Botany. That's where we team up with another organization as a partnership. I'm meeting with them next week to hopefully lock in dates and information. We have the tree planting ceremony. We have the tree, the location, and who it will be in honor or memory of. We have that determined. The Forest Service will not be able to be there this year because there's an envirothon going on that they're currently participating with.
Smoke in the Bear,
Correct, yes.
Cedar Rock Park.
So that's what we currently have going on, and then the information that's going out through social media.
Yeah,
So do you have any suggestions for like the bars? Like if we can't get them, is there another entity that maybe we could use in that slot? Somebody else that maybe we could kind of try to see?
Well, usually they have a statement that's read,
Somebody will need to read on their behalf.
Okay,
and yeah, one of the board members read that for them last year. They bring out their flag, or we have a flag that we set up. That was for the Tree City. But we do read something on behalf of the Forest Service. So they're still a part of the ceremony. The board just reads their statement. And the board usually invites city council to come out as well. So whatever updates to the schedule, I just need the schedule confirmed by April 12th, to give me time to update it, get it printed, to be ready for the ceremony.
And I'm thinking,
So whoever's saying what part, as that's part of having the ceremony schedule ready as well.
so we need to, excuse me, make a decision on which areas we could participate in. Bernadette will not be available, so and hopefully Noel is okay. So it's gonna be between the mayor, she'll definitely be a part of it. Then we would pick and choose here on the program
When do you need this program finalized?
by the 12th.
April 12th.
April 12th.
mhm.
and I'm thinking two is probably a best bet.
Brandy, quick question. There's no funding associated with the botany activity, right?
No, that's a free activity for the community. And like I said, we partner with another agency to provide that program.
Okay, but there's no money that the board needs to
No,
allocate for that?
no.
Okay.
So did y'all still want to do the poem writing contest or not, or any type of contest associated with it? I think that is kind of the bare bones of what we left off last time, what wasn't decided. Because I mean, that can still be advertised without sending anything to the schools through, like Randy said, Parks and Rec Facebook, City of Graham Facebook, websites. It's just, I think those are the things that we need to kind of figure out now, if there's gonna be any type of involvement with the public or the children, what y'all want. I think that's where we need to kind of head to in this point in time.
This is like deja vu, but last month we talked about this and there was no we had to go beg, borrow and steal, get some people to do that. So I do think if we get back to that young lady that did write, it'd be great to have her come back and read her poem again. But I think we're gonna put it out there and we're gonna be disappointed again. Like there's just that engagement piece isn't there. I don't know I just remember hearing that's what happened last year.
I love it. So do you think we didn't have good participation last year based on it was our first year out the gate kind of sort of thing?
I think that was the
maybe I was just in another world.
It
but
was
I so
I didn't hear
this.
that from Brandy. I heard that from the prior board members that were here.
I think we had 3 poem participants, and it was 1 from each age group. So
But
they-
3 is better than none. We don't want to give up on the children. It's just like so many different facets of the world. I mean, it's just like we got to meet them where they are. We got to show them that we're consistent, that we really want your participation, that we really would love for you to be a part of this event and keep striving. You have to just put the work in and just let them see, oh, that they're reaching out to us again. So they really do appreciate us being there and they really did like what we were doing. And children, they will feed off of it. And the lady the little young girl that won last year, I think if she's asked to come back, she'll probably bring some friends, and we should put that in our advertisement or our solicitation. Involve your friends. Do you know your friends? Who do you know that may also be interested? But I don't say because if we had just one, that's better than none. And part of our responsibility is to be community oriented. And we need to start getting out and being just like a outreach ministry. We got to get out there and get them some way. Somehow we've got to learn how to get their attention. We can't just sit down on it and say, oh, we didn't have 20,000 people come. We didn't have 25, but we had 3. And that 3 made an impact on many people because people were standing around interviewing with them individually, telling them how great of a job they did, and they walked out feeling very proud. So to me, I don't want to give up on
Want
that.
to do the poetry.
Yes, I want to do the poetry. I want the involvement from the community. We've got to start
You can make a motion.
getting this thing done. I need to wait for Noel.
No, she
Uh,
left.
No, she hasn't gone. Would you want to check on her? She had to take a phone call. She said maybe it was dead back there. I don't know. Can someone go see? Cameron, do you mind looking in the parking lot, see if it's still there? Because we don't know if we have to adjourn, because we would have to adjourn without that. I mean, there is no
We
need
can't
to
have
go
any
forward.
business. We can
We
still
can't-
discuss, we can't make any.
We can't make any decisions, so we
Understood.
just have to adjourn the meeting.
Gotcha.
Well, the year before, we did a poster contest. We
Mhm.
did have more submitted than the poem contest. I believe that's why it was switched from the poster contest to try something new with a poem contest in hopes it would generate more interest, but it was actually
And I like
lower
the
than the
poster.
poster.
Mhm.
The other thing is, usually my role in Arbor Day is to collect all the information, update the information on the website, and distribute the information out to the community. So last year, when we did have the poem contest, the board members were the ones to go out and y'all approved all the rules of it, but you also went out to get all the donations for prizes if that's the direction you want to go. So there's another step
Be included in your
um,
budget.
and make, and if you want to provide prizes again.
Yeah,
Um,
that's good. That's an incentive. But, okay, so you think
I bet
doing,
it's more than just poem contest. It's gonna
do
be,
you think
and
doing
then
poem
board
and
members reach.
poster, do you think that's too much, or what would you? Do you-
This is your activity.
Well, I like
just
both.
submitted.
I like both. I like both.
Um,
The posters were good and I
But the
like
board members
posters.
also reached out to like the Children's Museum. I believe that's where some of them, well, one may have been
For you,
submitted,
I
but
think so.
that outreach as to who will help us promote and who will collect poems.
And the posters were just overall a poster for Arbor Day, like Arbor Day in the city of Graham, like what was the theme for that?
Just a tree.
The tree, the
Mhm.
poster was centered around trees. Is that right, Brandy?
Yes, but what
Yeah.
I'm saying, there hasn't been a huge participation in either. So would you rather
Do-
try to come up with a different program event that will reach more kids, or continue and hope that more will send in poems?
Well, we could do a combination. We could do a combination, poster / poem. Maybe some people like to draw and they don't like to speak, maybe vice versa. What else can we do?
It was just poems
They don't
last year.
start taking
Before that was
photography
posters.
Until they're what?
We have better
high
luck
school?
with the pictures.
Just, we have to start promoting this month.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
So to start planning now,
Yeah.
it's kind of late.
Well, I mean,
Unless y'all, instead of having, hey, we're gonna do posters, we're gonna do poems, like we're gonna do everything, that's a lot. I would suggest picking one or the other and go that direction. We
Okay,
kind of
okay.
already
One or
have,
the other.
Okay, that's all I need to hear.
yeah, we
So
kind of have the
which
shell
one do you got?
from the past.
she just said up here, what about photography?
Yeah, photography,
I
yeah.
mean, the best tree and, best tree in
Yeah,
Graham, and they can,
best
I
tree
mean,
in-
they already would have had to take the picture, because clearly right now it's
Yeah,
everything's
they
bare,
would
but,
have to.
I mean, people that do that love that stuff. I mean, and it's easy to take a picture and send it. I do want that little girl for the poem back, though.
I
If you
do.
want the poem,
I
then
want
we
the
need to
poem,
find her information.
And we can
you
find
call
her information. Brandy,
Got
you
it.
have her
I've
information.
got her info.
Put her
Yeah,
on
because
the
I saw you
agenda,
speaking
or
with
the
her
program.
parents, so you know them.
I
So
think
we can
Susie
get
can-
her back,
Amazing.
maybe, and maybe see, what her ideas
Trees
on
around-
how to reach
trees around
children.
Graham.
Sometimes we have to let them guide us. Maybe you can, when you're speaking with them, and if her parent agrees for you to speak with her, maybe you can get her ideas on how we can reach children. What did we do wrong? How did she become attracted to it? What attracted her? You know, try to get the insight, get inside of, their minds, because we got to meet them where they are. They are,
What if we do a photo contest, trees around
I
Graham?
like that.
We had to figure out how we're gonna display them, but maybe we can do it on social media. I don't know.
Yeah, that also ties into the, if you look at the last,
I like that.
paragraph on the sheet on the, TVs,
Champion.
I didn't want to just keep throwing ideas. I didn't even
the
spoke
champion
out loud.
tree of Alamance County is kind of that idea.
Give up.
In the whole county, they do pictures on the largest trees, I believe.
Yes.
And it's submitted onto the website.
Yeah, you actually submit trees to be considered for champion trees of Alamance County, and then one is chosen through, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, Alamance Parks and the Forest Service? Is that who heads up the champion tree? I know you said we have some over in the cemetery that have been,
Oh, I didn't even see that. Look at that.
I know it's Alamance Parks, but they also, they partner with someone for that program.
So that could be something we direct,
Yes.
we direct people towards to identify spectacular trees and submit these in, and maybe one of them wins. Or
Yeah.
maybe we just get people out looking at trees.
I like that.
Sure, I like that. So, Miss Brandy, do you think then the champion tree of Alamance County and the poem writing would be too much?
So the champion tree of Alamance County is put on by Alamance Parks.
Okay,
That's not
No, no.
something of
that's not something
ours.
you do, but I'm saying what we're talking about as far as our photography and them submitting to us for the best tree in Graham or whatever.
Do you want to do photography?
Yes.
Okay.
we would
So
do it both.
photography and poem, would that be too much? Because one is just a submission and the other one is coming up and doing a presentation.
So
CW, I
Um,
thought we just agreed on the poem.
Yeah,
And
we
those
did,
are all
but-
From last year.
We did, but they were
Okay.
talking
You
about
guys are
the
killing me.
photography being a submission form. Okay, so it doesn't matter. That's an overkill. Is that what we're saying? Okay.
Oh.
So let's go back to the poetry, and if you would please, thank you, Miss Bernadette, for bringing us back. So, and if you would please just, we're asking Brandy then to reach out to the family and see if she'd be interested in coming back this year. Maybe doing a little interview just to figure out,
Well, she's coming back for the program.
yeah, for the
We'd like her
program.
to come back
She
to read
writes
her
a poem,
poem
a note
again,
poem.
to be on the program. That does not take.
And
a
if she
vote,
wants
so-
to read the same one,
So we don't want to do, I'm sorry, we don't want to do a contest. We just want to invite the winner that you guys have in mind. Okay.
No, 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 no.
We want to do the winner from last year
Yes.
that read her poem in front of city council.
Yes.
We want her to read the same poem as, this year. It's part of the program,
part of the
but
program.
we
She's
do
gonna
want
be
a contest.
for poem writing.
Okay, we want poem
Oh,
writing.
Oh, okay, I see where you're going. Okay, so what we're saying then, I'm in
Okay,
agreement
I'm
with
waiting.
that. I like that spirit. Okay, so what we're saying now is that we're asking for the little lady to come back from last year, the winner.
Correct.
Read her poem as part of the program, and then we're gonna do the photography part for submission.
Okay. So we're gonna do it.
So the photography would be like, we put something out on Facebook
Yep.
and we do it like a residential
Trees
appearance
around
award.
Graham or something of that.
Okay, so you guys we'd have to get that, we'd
I'll-
probably get you guys to vote on it in the April meeting. I would
Okay.
think.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw this out real quick.
Okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So at
Don't
this
throw us out.
moment, trees are dormant except for our evergreens.
Right.
So they're not leafing out until April. So the trees you receive are still gonna have, they're not gonna have. any
Haven't-
early
enough
leaves.
They're gonna have a
Leaves.
lot of fair
Yes,
personality.
they are. Yes, they are.
which they're still special
But
and
even
that,
they already
but-
have pictures of trees that they've taken before.
You like this idea? We're
No,
gonna
I
go
don't
with
like
it.
it. I'm just
I don't-
going with something.
I think you
Wait.
guys are talking about, involvement during the ceremony as well. If it's just a picture of a tree, I don't know how much involvement you get from somebody if they just come up and hold a picture. You know, you want people to speak and say their poems out loud and have people be there. And it's complete vice versa. So I think you ought to see the main.
Okay.
Okay, so let's table the pictures. Mr. Covington, don't give up on us. We're gonna get past this. We're
bringing
we're
this
getting ready to
far.
make the last adjustment. But we don't have anybody to vote right now, so that's gonna be a problem. But Brandy, what we're proposing, and Miss Noel, when she comes back, we can vote, but until that, we can't. What we're proposing is that we go on with the poem writing, okay?
Same
contest.
criteria as last year?
Yes. the
Okay.
Criteria's last year. And then maybe we can do some folk singing. Get a folk singer. This is program stuff.
Will there be prizes for these winners again this year?
Yes.
Okay.
Same as last
You will-
year.
No, you're gonna have to.
And you're
consider-
gonna incorporate that into your budget that you're asking. So we're gonna say, instead of just decorations, can we also
The
use some
prizes
of that
have to
money?
be donated. City council doesn't.
The
typically-
prizes were donated in the
Yeah.
past.
Okay, we'll donate them. What were they?
They were $25 gift cards to Living Landscape.
Okay, so I'm willing to.
So those were actually for the rock hunt, the
Hmm.
gift certificates.
Oh, didn't we have extra? You had some left over.
Yeah, you had some left over from last year.
We
Did we have
do,
three?
let's see,
I think we had three.
So we had to make sure they.
there are
received
two $20 gift certificates to Live in Landscapes. If, I still have to reach out to them to make sure they haven't expired, they'll still accept them.
Okay, yeah.
But let me
Yeah.
pull. All right, so last year we had 3 Painted Grape $10 gift certificates, 3 Graham Cinema tickets, 3 64 Harvard Oak tree prints, 3 City of Graham Lookup Tour canvas bags. And former chair reached out for permission to use the prizes in 2023. The year before, we didn't have enough to get, I mean, we didn't give all the prizes out. They weren't picked up or collected. So the former chair reached out to these businesses to see if some of them could have been used last year. Some of the prizes were from 2022. So we do not have any of these anymore. So any prizes that come in, they will have to be.
Well, can you send us that list? Send me the list, or send us the list, and then we can just kind of piggyback off that and just go back to some other people that you may want to, reach out to, guys. Anybody else, as long as we're coming up with prizes. But if not, there was $25 certificate for the prom.
Yeah, it's just 2, but we had 3 categories of winners. Oh, excuse me, $20 gift certificates, 2 $20 gift certificates. But we had 3 winners last year, 3 categories for winners.
So if those are not valid, then we need $3 $20.
If
Or
you want to
something
use
similar.
those. Like I said, last year, these were used for the rock hunt and there were separate prizes more geared towards youth.
I don't see that being very motivating to you.
Bernadette liked the rock hunt, but you're not gonna be here, so are we gonna scratch
Yeah,
that?
but we can, but it wasn't done on that day.
The rock hunt was done throughout the month of April until all rocks were found, but not all rocks were turned in and we no longer have rocks either.
Were you still
so.
interested in that, Bernadette?
I can still paint some rocks. I can do that and drop them off or hide them.
Yeah, last year the chair hid the rocks.
Yeah, yeah.
And she had a tag on the back that had instructions if a rock was found and they emailed.
Bernadette was involved with that last year.
Yeah, I
weren't you?
painted
Yeah.
them
Yeah,
last
you
year.
painted them, so.
Okay.
you
And
know
then
how
she
that
hit
goes.
them, I think the first of April, I believe.
So in essence, the $20 gift certificate that you have, we're not sure if they're still valid. And then if they're not, what we need is 3 prizes.
Depends on how many, if you're gonna do the rock hunt,
You
just
need 4.
determine how many winners you want to have, and that'll determine how many prizes. Last year, we had 8 available prizes, and we have 2 certificates left.
So we're doing a rock hunt now? Is that what?
Through the month of April.
Okay.
Are you going to commit to that,
I'll paint
Bernadette?
the rock.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to get everything clear. So
And
we've
I'll
got,
let you know whenever I'll send it out.
Mhm.
And I'll hide them.
so for advertising's sake, we've got a rock hunt going on through the month of April, a poem contest for the 3 age groups like last year. Then the winner from last year that you guys are speaking about, comes back during the ceremony to read. the poem that you guys liked. Then the going bonkers for botany, and then the tree ceremony and social media posts that Brandy said she pretty much has already done.
Yeah.
So that's
He's-
Arbor Day.
An
That's-
agreement on the time during the 2 o'clock.
Oh, yes, because he's already spoken with the family.
Say this, move it till like 11 o'clock in the morning, forestry service can be there.
Oh, let's do 11.
Oh, I love Smokey Bear.
Well, I think.
So the bear, Smokey Bear can be there if we move it to 11?
10 or 11 in the morning.
Do you think your family can come so we still can tie it all in? Okay. Well, I think the family is more important. The tree planting is definitely has to be a part of, because it was donated,
Yeah.
so it has to be part of the program. So we, Mr. Covington, then yield to you. That's what I'm going to suggest, that we yield to Mr. Hmm? In what?
We didn't hear
He
you.
said the morning works great for his staff. But I don't think you guys can change anything right now because there's not a vote.
We can't vote. That's what I was
Yeah.
going to remind him. We can't vote on it, but we would definitely take that in over precedence of what we're talking about because that's not relevant. We would like to have more participation with the children, but with the family and the memorial, that's just very important.
But we could ask Mr. Covington to check with the family to see if a morning time would work, and then he could report back. We will not be able to finalize that until Noel is back.
Yeah, the April
Okay.
meeting, which
And you said the the forestry can be there if we do 11.
Everything at Cedar Rock Park starts at lunch. I'm assuming that's 12 o'clock.
I will note too, though, that I don't know when Brandy was planning on starting to put this stuff out on social media, but if she's still kind of waiting to see what time it is, that might hamper some of your efforts to advertise.
Sure.
So who,
No, I don't think Cameron found her. I think
she left?
So we're a 4-member board and all 4 of us have to be here?
there's still 7 members technically on the board.
We haven't had it changed yet, because
Nope.
we were trying to get it.
There's no downsizing or anything. It's
the-
still 7
the
members. You've
numbers
just got
changed.
3 vacancies.
Yeah.
So 4 is the quorum.
Member B, how can a member be a member if it's not a person?
It's a membership. It's an open position
It's
on
an
the board.
open position at this point. Okay, so let's go back. So we're not voting on anything, but Mr. Covington, what we're gonna ask is that if you can get with the family, see if we can do it. So you guys more up to the morning now, or we're still trying to get the,
Whatever you want to do.
Sherry, where do we ask him?
I prefer morning, but we can't make that decision right now.
No need for me to get with the family until I know that that's what's gonna happen.
She's calling her. What?
He's
a-
calling Noel. Okay, so
Left or
while
something?
we're at city council, can we also go ahead on and, because I thought this was in motion, getting the numbers dropped, from 7 to,
That was something council would have to do. If they have, I
that's
haven't
what I
heard about
said,
it.
while
Or if
we're
it's-
at the council, I'm sorry, maybe you missed my first part. While we're in front of the council, would that be also something that we can, project the request to have the numbers?
Rarely, or you mean just for the interim, like the same thing?
Yeah, I just think if we move it to 5, if we have 3, we have a quorum.
Gotcha.
So is that something we could be on the agenda for also? I'm asking is that, can we do the budget and also the agenda for the, number of, I think we should reach out to our council member.
Well, the agenda is set for next week pretty
Mhm.
much, so that's not gonna happen.
Here is what you'll have to do. Of course, next week, not gonna happen, not gonna be able to do it the next week because that item's already set for the understanding of whatever the remaining funds are gonna be used for.
Yes, sir.
Is that still, request still on the table? Because I know the advertising thing with the schools seemed like it wasn't something y'all were doing. So are we still gonna have an agenda item for y'all next week?
Yeah, we.
Yes,
need
we still have to know
we
what
can do.
decorations mean because we're not clear. So we still want to be on the,
Ask but can't we just
no,
ask
you have
our
to go, no, gotta follow
member- our
protocol.
Okay.
Okay, fine.
Well, I talked with,
Oh.
admin folks today, and that's what they suggested.
Okay.
Was because it was earmarked as such, and it comes out of a specific budget for that specific purpose.
Gotcha.
It'd have to be approved through some sort of a amendment. through, I
Absolutely.
guess just them saying that. So I mean, even if you're going for a budget in April and we can put another agenda item for you all to have, I guess, the discussion for the reduction of numbers. It's just something that have to be brought up and to me or the admin folks before ahead of time, we'll make another agenda item for it, but it won't be until April. So
April,
I
yes,
don't
sir.
know if y'all wanted to hold off until April as a whole to discuss the budget, because I don't know what
Because we
spending you're
want to
gonna be
make
doing
sure what
between
we're
now and
doing for
then.
Arbor Day, if we're gonna do marketing, if it's gonna be any monies involved, we want to make sure that the money can be utilized in different
Mhm.
ways, right?
I
I
don't
don't think
know
you guys
what
have
type of
allocated any
marketing,
money.
because the marketing
Mhm.
that we were mentioning was for the school
Look at that.
stuff, and
Mhm.
Right.
are we still gonna do it?
Okay,
No,
so-
And I think Brandy said the Peach Store was not worth really doing because kids are in school.
So
Right.
that's what I was saying, is if
Mhm.
So that's.
you aren't gonna use it specifically for Arbor Day, then it's something that could be discussed at the April meeting, and then between now and then, you can also figure out at our April meeting what you all are requesting inside of that budget. And that way, it's not a specific line item of just downtown decorations. And then for the remainder of it, you can also ask, okay, we still have 1,000 left for the remainder of this budget year. Can we use it for anything other than downtown decorations? And then they may say yes, they may say no. I don't know what you all would use the money for in between now and then. Like I said, the thought process was for the
Mhm.
advertising for the schools, but
And like Brandy was saying, all the events that we have listed so far, she does the advertising on social media. And you're not doing the Peach Jar, so I don't think there's any money that you guys need to go and get allocated for next week. So I think you don't have to worry about that.
So you don't.
But
so
also
there
like
still
speed
needs to
banners.
be an extensive discussion at the next month meeting as to what exactly type of budget you all are requesting from city council and what it's gonna be used for. I know you mentioned the grant stuff, and that's something that can be outlined as well. If you're looking to do the $15,000, that have to be a $15,000 match, and that's something you'd have to propose to them, or even if it's just as minimum as 5,000, that's something that need to be allocated for such. So you, like I said, at the next month's meeting, it needs to be its own agenda item again, as it was tonight, to have further discussion of what exactly is it that we are requesting in this April meeting? And what are those prices? What are those outlines? As I mentioned the last time is, having a lot of this information and proper planning and showing a lot of the line items of what this money is specifically going to be used for is always helpful when you're dealing with council and requesting money from them.
Okay, so, I guess basically we don't have any voting rights. I apologize, guys, but we can't make any decisions tonight. Because the numbers are still at 7, we only have 3, so there's no quorum. But I think maybe since we have a slot on the city council,
Could we
Since we-
table that decision to be an email vote? I mean-
Like that. I think because it has to be in.
Has to
some
be in the
form of
public.
meeting. Because say if you four were emailing each other back and forth on private email, then it's not a matter of the public forum.
Yeah.
So we couldn't do anything
No.
along those lines. I mean, if it's just something as simple as a time, I mean, I think that's something that's just
Yeah, how is that?
understood and spoken for, but I think the things that really have to be made motions and seconds upon are, actual stuff.
Spending of money, like spending of money is typically a motion, not setting a time and a date on something. That's really not a
That's how we've
motion.
operated in the past, and,
motion driver with
everything's
Robert's
pretty much
rules.
just motion seconded, so, as of right now, I guess we're sticking with whatever it was, the 29th at 2 PM.
Yeah.
Until we're able to do something different.
I'm out.
okay.
Yeah, you'll have to basically announce that we're adjourning due to, I guess, the aspect of not having a forum.
So the meeting will be adjourned at 7:34 due to lack of a quorum. Thank you.
Is the video off?
No, you're being.
I don't know, Edwin restarted the computer.
Evan.
Turn it back on.
You're being tracked.
I hope he didn't. I hope